Today's session is going to present by the Tara. She's from Capgemini with 20 years of extensive experience as a functional and subject matter expert. She has a strong track record of delivering effective solutions and across diverse engagements which she worked. Okay, currently she's working as a Oracle ERP Cloud Solution Architect at our Capgemini. And today's topic, she took strategic alignment best fit for software vendor, and she is going to share her insights on what on that same topic itself. And with that, for further ado, I would like to introduce about you, Tara. Okay.
Thank you, Mahendra. Um, Hello, everyone. Um, I would like to say I'm associated with Capgemini for 5+ years with FSBU, and thanks to each and everyone out here to take out time to attend this session. Uh,
Okay.
be, uh, I've been part of industry for more than 2 decades, and as a capacity of a subject matter expert or as a solution lead, a solution architect in pre-sales.
मैंने कुछ किया 4 hours
Can we please mute our
बोला है क्या तो
teams, please? Sneha,
I would
sorry to
request that
interrupt.
all audience to go on mute if you're not speaking. We have to respect everyone's time. Okay. Thank you.
Uh, One of the engagement recently, which I was part of, was about being part of the vendor selection process, representing the largest bank of the region. And it was quite unique and enriching experience because as a subject matter expert, it was my job usually to go and demonstrate the product which I have expertise in. But this time I had an opportunity to be on the other side of the table and not only evaluate the product which you have expertise in, but also the other product which market had to offer. So that's where the idea was, why not share it with our colleagues and the insight that we had it there. And to directly jump into the subject, I usually prefer an interactive session. If there is anything, please do raise your hand in the Teams or maybe post session. We can get into a discussion. I'm happy to help and clarify there. So so right now we are jumping into the subject. The topic is strategic vendor alignment, software vendor alignment from an architect's perspective. And this was for one of the largest bank in Philippines. Will not try to name the bank to maintain the privacy of the bank. The agenda, we'll keep it crisp. There was a need, identifying the need why bank actually wanted to go ahead with a different software, and what was the process, vendor selection process they have undergone. And along with the vendor, they were also evaluating different system integrator who will help them in implementing the software. So these are the important topics that we'll be covering today. To start with, it's very important to understand the little profile about the bank. So bank had its footprint in most of the aspects of banking. It's commercial, investment, private, insurance, and any other banking services in general. So if we understand banking as a business, so they were all over the place. They were covering majority of the bank offering. And just because they were covering all of the bank offering, they were having 1,700 branches in the region and 6,000 ERP user base. This talks about the volume of business that we were about to undertake and support. they had almost 20 years of what would I say? They had 20 years of various in-house system which was built in the process to cater to their IT requirement. And for 20 years, they kept on building new system to cater to the new requirement and new reporting needs as and when it came up. So there was not a holistic picture, only to cater to their day-to-day needs. And because of which there were a lot of systems in the system in their IT landscape which were going to be obsolete in near future, or the support of those systems were end nearing. And that's where the need from the bank was to come up with another a consolidated general ledger system for their reporting purposes, which will be standalone, and all their major integrations, all their major in-house integrations, data can flow in from their entity for reporting purposes. That was the need. Now, that was an overall profile about the bank. Now, how do we say about it? Exact to have better clarity, there was technical obsolescence and manual processes. Too many manual processes because it was inbuilt landscape of the IT. Now, the system which their present reporting system, General Ledger, was working was on AS400, which had a huge maintenance cost, as learnt in the process, which was making it very difficult for them to modernize their existing system. And hence the need came to externalize, or may I would say replace, their existing system to overcome their challenges. And it was on their critical path. To add to above all these things, their existing system would be getting decommissioned by 2028. And to avoid and hence they never wanted to invest further in the existing technology, This was technical aspect of it. But this itself was not the driving factor for the decision. There was manual processes, as understood, since it was 20 decades of manual processes. And maintaining the reconciliations, they had almost 100 integrations, and each integration is flowing information, management information, to their central GL for reporting. Now, apart from data flowing in, reconciliation, monitoring if it is happening, it was a humongous task. They had to build an IT team only to maintain the general BAU. And the new reporting requirement, 20 decades, uh, legislative requirement, regulative reporting requirement, they keep updating it every year. Now, they had to also keep up with those legislative and management reporting. And hence, bank floated the RFI for software vendor. This is a brief background before we dive deep into the subject. We are based out of India. I'm based out of India. And the initial challenge, which is from my perspective, and I think we all are consultants here, we would have their own challenges, was the time zone to work with. That was the timing. It was Philippines project, and morning 5 a.m. we have to be on a vendor call with full alert, because each and every, it's a very strategic position you are in, and you have to be alert by 5 a.m. to attend calls and take all inputs. So I see that as a challenge. Now, it is a different region. It was Philippines, and the emotional quotient with the Asian customers are different from the emotional quotient of Europe customers or a US region. My previous engagement was from US, and now we had to switch from US emotional quotients to Philippines. In Philippines, majority of the workforce are women, and their way of thinkings are very different from usual working crowd. Role assigned was a lead architect. And we had team members from various aspects. We had to lead a team, which we had a team from a DBA, we had a team from security, we had a subject matter expert. All of us pulled in together, and they were part of architect team, solution architect team, and the real role which was assigned was as a lead architect. The important thing out here was that reporting was directly to the CTO and very high visible and with very high expectation, because you are reporting and your recommendation does count. Now, once the team was there, vendors invited for proposed submission. Obviously, uh, we cannot, we have to find the preferred few numbers of vendors, initial shortlisted vendors to work with. And bank has hired the service of BCG Consulting, which is an American management consulting, one of the big three, to guide us to the entire process, to ensure there is a compliance, to ensure there is fairness. And since BCG was the neutral party, not representing any of the vendors, and they were hired. Now, vendors' initial recommendation, which came from BCG, were four. And first one was Infor, which had a product called Sun System, which we were supposed to evaluate. Infor was their boutique vendor, and as per the legal requirement, there should be a boutique or a local vendor in the contract of evaluating, in any contract we are signing. So Infor was selected. Then we had Oracle and SAP, pioneer in ERP solution for decades, well known in the industry, and they both had a well proven track for catering to the general ledger processes. They also recommended Walter Kluwer. This was something I heard about them first time, but they were evolving ERP provider in the market. They had specialized solution for banking industry and had a very good footprint in European market. Walter Kluwer's stake in this investment, in this particular assignment, was to venture the Asian market to expand their presence in globally. It was a bank decided it was not only the software selection. Along with the software selection, they will evaluate the system integrators who will help them to implement the solution. Once the probable vendors were selected, core committee members had to be created, committee which will be deciding. Decision will be based on 360-degree. Everybody's decision will have weightage. So Boston Consulting Group to guide us through the process, as we have already discussed. Then we had a representation from controllership. Controllership is basically to do with the reporting of their management to various external or internal departments, and they were also the sponsor of the project. So controllership is very critical function within the organization. They focused on overseeing the financial activities, ensuring compliance, and providing accurate financial reporting. Was sponsor of the project and had weightage on the recommendation as they were funding the project. Solution architect team, where I was the lead there, And the team consisted of experts from different area, product, DBA, security, so that they can bring in all the flavor of addressing the requirement. We had architect team to ensure that the solution that we are agreeing on along with the solution architect fits into their overall IT architect. So as we are seeing, there are a lot of stakeholders here and too many meetings to coordinate and understand different perspective. Representative presentations from business because they were evaluating if all their requirements are getting addressed, and IT support as they were maintaining existing systems to ensure existing challenges are addressed or mitigation plan are in place. Expectation from the architect in the vendor selection process would be like they were expecting an software architecture outline presenting the present architecture, detailed documentation, explaining the impact of the existing architecture, obsolete technologies, end of support, inbuilt reductance application. All these were expectation from an architect. Now comes the second phase of challenge post initial vendor list. Management decided that if we have four software vendors to be evaluated, it's too much of a coordination and too many meetings would have it. So they know competition is tough and each vendor gets some unique flavor on table. Management wanted to eliminate at least one vendor before actual process even starts. So as part of the committee, we were requested to eliminate one of the vendor and we have to also provide the justification for whom we were planning to drop it out. Now, it's a challenge because by now we had no meeting with the vendor. We have to do a study based on what's available on the internet, word of mouth, customer reference, and come up with 360-day vendor. So here, Infor was selected to be part of first elimination. And the reason why Infor was selected because they didn't have enough financial backup to support the entire implementation, nor they had enough manpower to support the entire implementation because it was huge, as we understand, as we have gone through the profile of the customer. Now, this is one part of vendor selection, but solution architect had an additional burden, additional responsibility, I would like to say. In the process of, while the process of elimination was on, in parallel, architects were assigned the task of creating software architecture outline. Let's to deviate a little. What is SAO? So I was doing a SAO first time in my career. And here is to study the entire landscape of the architecture they are having it at present, the assumptions, the considerations, solution in context, and risk issues and actions. All needs to be done and documented. And the time frame to do this was only 3 months. Get into the system, they were just expecting somebody to come, plug and play and walk out. Now, when they say assumptions, what did they mean? What were they expecting under assumptions? Assumptions example, it was basically to carve out the scope of the implementation. It's a huge 20 years of in-house process. So the first assumption that came out was the number of bank entities they would like to implement. Second was, in case if there is any change in the RC of the entity, it will be the future BRD, business requirement document, which will cater to it. As of now, whatever is present in their present BRD will be considered, and which was around 7 entities. Now, key consideration that they wanted to chalk out and define the boundaries was only the current functionality, what is being catered by the present system, will be addressed. And they have also defined out of scope very explicitly system which is not there in the system, their subledgers or their other external systems will not be considered for this implementation, could be considered for future if need be. Now, a solution context is basically having different dimension of the uh, different dimension of the architecture. Now, right at level 0, it's high level where we are seeing GL system at the core and how many entities and what type of information from these entities are flowing into the GL for reporting to the external for regulatory or compliance reporting. Now, this is a detail for one of the entity here, that is Unibank. For this particular entity, this is level 2. Now, when we say level 2, or only when information is going into the general ledger of a Unibank, integrations, Unibank is having to integrate with the GL for reporting. Now, if we see on top, there are almost 7 to 8 system which might have multiple integration in term from the controllership requirement to fetch the information and pull it in GL. We had bank integration, we had treasury integration, internal reporting and security integration, and the external system integrations at a very high level only for Unibank. Similarly, all other 7 entities had their own integration, which had to be discussed, documented, and agreed upon by each entity that they are ready to integrate with the new GL system. Uh, and then we also had a challenge, like there were very other parallel projects which were going on in the system. It's a huge system, so GL is only one. There are other challenges, and how do we plug in with those new, different ongoing projects? Concurrence from each integration owner and impact on existing report had to be identified before even software vendors are selected and project starts getting implemented by an integrator. Another dimension which was requested from the architect was to identify the business impact. What is the current impact and what will be the future impact? Example, there were numerous manual processes. They wanted it to be automated. The second impact, I would say, is from list of system which is going to get impacted in the current state, and how many of them will remain in the target and how many we will not continue. This is a high level. We had to have a write-up to really explain which are the system which we have to retain it and why we are proposing it to be replaced. And third came from the technology obsolescence in terms of, as we have already discussed, AS400 was very difficult to maintain, their high cost of maintenance. Hence, they were looking for a replacement by a new GL. So to have an interaction with 8 entities into almost 10 of their integration. It's more than that. So these are 100, we would say 100 calls with the entities, multiple time ironing out their doubts, ironing out the impact on the present system, clarifying all their curiosity and documenting, ensuring legal compliance, security, everything is in agreement before even the decision is taken. One important thing which took a very important highlight was the RPO and RTO. I come from a functional background, and really I was not aware of this terminology. So that again came an opportunity where I had to scale up to understand the RPO, RTO, the DBA requirement, the infrastructure requirement, all 360-degree we have to work it out. So RPO, it refers to the maximum acceptable amount of data loss an organization can tolerate in the event of a disaster. Expressed as a period of time, it is in simple term how far back in time system can go to restore data after an outrage. So if there is an issue, how far it can go and retrieve the data. It's bank. Everything is very important. And they had very strict compliance. They were not able to negotiate. These were non-negotiable points. So each entity came up with their RPO and RTO requirement. So we had to ensure that the vendors are ready to comply with it before even we process. Now, apart from that, another important aspect was different phases, how the implementation would happen, and our software vendor and the integrator partnering in a better way to live up to it. So we were supposed to come up with the crescent architecture, and then while deploying the new one, what will be re-platform with the parity, how long the present system and the new system will go together till system is stable. And then finally, the new system exists and decommission the old system. So entire detailed understanding. This was happening in parallel while we were also working and attending the vendors demonstration, trying to understand their product and understand the business requirement so that we can recommend the best possible fit. We are back to the vendor selection. Now, the idea was to have an objectively defined vendor selection process. It's not just I feel X vendor is able to articulate or X vendor is able to cater to the need. It was objectively decided. So we were given the task of coming up with the criteria on which the vendors will be selected. At a very high level, three broadly criteria were identified. That was technical criteria, compliance with capability, security criteria, and non-functional criteria. When we say core capability, it was about are all the features which are existing in the present system can be catered by the new system. So they have really broken down into a detailed, like whether accounting can be done properly as expected, whether consolidation can be done, reporting can be achieved, different types of maintenance, reporting, audit. And non-functional requirement was more like one of those we have discussed about the RPO, RTO, or about whether this system, whether vendor's solution or vendor product is capable of scaling, whether they can be extended. How many environment are they going to provide us to cater to our requirement? Are they providing audit trials, audit logs? How many access they can provide? And definitely, since it is bank, security goes without saying. And each criteria was also given the weightage. Now, based on the evaluation criteria agreed upon by all committee members, we were asked to rate them objectively. So, first criteria was decided. We all agreed. Committee has approved it. And each member is supposed to rate it against each criteria and provide a justification. This, when we get into a war room, everybody putting their idea, their recommendation and justifying it, you can see there's a lot of learning out there. because not everybody will agree on a common point with the same weightage. Once the criteria was selected, we were asked to score and start the elimination process. Now, by this time, we have exhausted 1.5 months of the engagement. And remaining, we have to complete in another few months. So we were given an extension to complete the activity. So all vendors was evaluated. And as we have already seen, then Infor was eliminated initially as they did not have enough manpower to take the large scale information. To our surprise, SAP was the next eliminated vendor. And there was quite a good learning. Even though SAP had a good track record, they were quite renowned in the industry, well proven track. What client was looking for was the based out of vendor selection, because client, they don't know the product. So how the vendor has presented the product based on which the decision was taken, because business users were looking at the business product for the first time. And the presenter of SAP, I would say, in my opinion, was not well prepared, enough time given. So they were more focused on the feature display rather than solution. Business does not understand features so well. They were looking for, I have a consolidation issue, and how is your product going to help us out in that process? But they are not interested in how we will upload it, or what are your new features which are presented in the new version. And the demo in SAP was more related to that. And then the committee had to decide on SAP. If we see the overall score, the scores were not too different. There were very marginal difference. When the scores were presented to the steering committee, it was also advised that the marginal differences are not accepted. There should be a good amount of difference, big amount of a difference, to decide on which vendor selection we should go ahead with. Uh, and for further detailing, there came another, how many features were each vendor able to cater out of the box, what is the amount of customization, and how much they cannot. So SAP came out, fell very badly on those grounds, and we had to narrow it down with Oracle and Workday, Walter Kluwer's. Recommendation from the steering committee was, as we are going ahead with only 2 vendors right now, please come up with the recommendation on pros and cons of each vendor, and how are we going to mitigate those plans. So far, if we see the score here, we see Walter Kluwer's was leading it. Even though they were new to Asian market, they didn't have any presence there. They didn't have any. They didn't have manpower, neither the legal presence or partnership with the boutique vendors to implement. Still, their presentation was awesome. They could understand the nerve and requirement of the customer. They were talking business. They were not talking product. They could understand XYZ is your problem and this is how your solution should be. That was the game changer, because they got into the unique selling position in the business mind. And end of the day, business has a say. They are going to use the product. And controllership team is also part of business. So with remaining 2 vendors, we had to identify cons and mitigation plan. Now, each team will present their cons and what is the recommended mitigation plans in case bank goes selects either one. Let me be honest, since we were on the field, we knew businesses leaning towards Walter Kluwer's because they were able to address to the requirement of the business. Their presentation was good and they know how what the issues are. What are the cons for Oracle? Oracle, they had a quarterly patch. They and based on the discussion with the previous references from the customer, it came out very clearly that we need subject matter expert from the system integrator to be to maintain the business requirement in future. Quarterly patch, each time a patch is applied, solution needs to be tested. Business was not in so much favor of it. And also, where the data, since Oracle had a SaaS model, they had data residency in only few countries. As per the requirement, the data was supposed to be, they were requesting data to comply with the legal requirement to be there in Hong Kong. And Oracle was not having the data residency there. And these were the few areas for Oracle, and we had come up with mitigation plan how to go about it. Same was the case with Walter Kluwer's. They were PaaS environment, so the infrastructure cost was high, but they were using the AWS technology, which was which was already existing in their IT ecosystem landscape. Which would make their system more expensive because it was SaaS. All infrastructure had to be deployed again. So it was making their implementation expensive, which had a counterpart. Oracle was pricing them based on the number of users. And as we have understood from the profile, the business had 6,000 users and they were planning to expand. They had planned to expand. So number of subscription increases, the price goes higher. Wherein in case of Walter Kluwer's, the infrastructure is maintained by bank and no matter how many users gets added, bank can manage there and no subscription increases. Each team had to score based on the number of team and come up with whom they want to vote for. We all opted out Oracle and business opted for Walter Kluwer's. But the reality is different. When it went into the contract negotiation, business, it came out. It was something which is within business. So business came out and they awarded the contracts to Oracle. And the reason was they never wanted this information to seep in, even though they made their minds to go with Oracle because they have a good financial backup, they have presence in the market, and the customers have given good feedback. Walter Kluwer's was missing on those things and they had to step down. And the business intentionally kept the two vendors till the last day just to negotiate on their pricing. So even though they were two vendors, business had made up their mind well in advance. And just to keep the price negotiation in their control, they were evaluating both the vendors, showing preferences to Walter Kluwer's. So the learning was no matter how much learning, I would say, yes, product is important, features are important, discussions are important, but pricing is also important. So business really knows what they want, and they were really smart to get a very good deal out of Oracle, keeping Walter Kluwer's in the race to get the price slice. So key areas that helped to decide was cloud versus on-premise. Business preferred the latest technology, even though on-premise was working cheaper in longer run with more business users. Regulatory requirement for data to be there in region. As we discussed, they wanted data to be available in Hong Kong or in Singapore. Oracle complied to it. But where in case of Walter Kluwer, since it was on-prem, they could have done it. But Oracle worked on their data residency and they catered to the requirement. Customers were sensitive for the data to be on cloud and vendor having access to confidential data. Negotiation was done, not P2 data or customer client related information will be sent to cloud, and there will be a filter while designing only the accounting information and not any information which will relate to their customer base. So that was handled with solutioning. And pricing, one-time best subscription basis for number of users. Even though it turned out to be expensive, but they were able to negotiate a better deal, keeping both the vendors running till the last day of the call. Any question so far?
I
Hi, Mohammed.
okay, so vendor selection was like very critical. As I see, this is like my first experience, the presentation that I'm seeing in my whole career. I so why the customer chooses Capgemini to evaluate the vendors?
I was not the only. I was not the only person who was giving. I was hired as an SME because a client was not having an SME in their ecosystem, and Capgemini had a long-term relationship with client, and they approached us to support them with an SME in their architect solution team. That's where the relationship counts. So, kudos to all previous consultants who built the relationship and critical role like that. We begged it.
Okay. It's great. Great accomplishment. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it's even small piece of work we do good with the customer. Relationship is very important. And what I see the key role in relationship. And they came back, even though after it was awarded to another vendor, not Capgemini. Uh, they came back to us for few roles to fulfill there, like a project manager role, an architect role. So that was a kudos. Any other question? Please do.
Yeah, Tara, this Mahendra here.
Yes, Mantu.
What is the role of technical architect in this kind of topic?
Yeah. See, when we do vendor software vendor selection, you are evaluating different vendors. Each one has their unique selling point. So, architect would understand both from the software and hardware point of view, from the overall perspective, which software will be able to fulfill the requirement of the customer, keeping in mind the present architecture of the client. So, a person who understands their present landscape and person who understands the other software maturity to understand different vendor product and how it can club in together to cater to the client need in longer run. It's that's where, because business will understand if their business is getting catered to, but that's only in verbal. And any vendor would come and say, yeah, we can cater to your requirement, but somebody needs to do a real reality check of going into the application or reading about the application to see if ecosystem can accept those product and the technology to be a proper fit.
Okay, okay. I mean, if it is a greenfield project, it might be different, right? Because we don't. I mean, they don't have any visibility on architecture itself.
Yeah, it was not a
Mm.
green field. I mean, to say it was, even though the product would come as a green field, but it is getting plugged into an environment which has a lot of
Mhm.
integrations, and it's
Okay.
evolving. Many parallel projects going on. So
Hmm.
I would say it's very critical because you cannot disturb or I mean, stop all the ongoing project and say, though we can plug in. A lot of moving pieces needs to move in together.
Hmm.
So high level architecture is very much, and it's see we were part of solutioning team. We also
Hmm.
had an architect team. So
Okay.
solutioning team, we were looking at the solutioning and providing input to an architect team to see in their ecosystem how this solution will pan out, impact of new reporting, impact of future obsolescence, because not all obsolete environment or end of support will get replaced on one D day, December 25. It is all
Okay.
phased out. So how
Okay.
everything should be phased out. That was a recommendation to be provided. Impact on existing reporting.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Tan.
Welcome. And Anil?
Hello there.
Yes, Anil.
Thanks for the nice and informative session. The question is Oracle charging for customer wise? So if one customer have multiple accounts, so it charge account wise or customer wise?
See, Oracle had a subscription based pricing model, and WK in this case, they had on prem. So hardware needs to be procured by the uh, bank, and data will be residing in within their region. So the decision which business had to take is between the subscription based pricing or one time investment on their hardware. Uh, since client played smart, they kept both the vendor both speculating who will win it, and they took the chance of getting a good deal from Oracle. We don't know. That was very confidential. How much the deal has gone with, but they were able to slice down a lot of their pricing and get it. So I would say a smart move from the customer to keep everybody speculating till last day.
Thank you.
Did I? Yeah. Thanks, Anil. Yes, Mohammed. You have something else? I think he has forgotten to put his hand down. Anybody
I
else in the?
yes. Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. So the project, shows that the more work that we have is for the Oracle, right? And as you said, there are multiple applications that the customers was using. So was those applications were customized applications?
Yes, those were in-house. 20 years, they didn't go for any modernization. So as and when there was a need, they would just take up they would just develop something internally to address to the immediate need. There was not a higher vision. So in the process of 20 years, there were multiple systems in the IT landscape to be maintained, reconciled. So now they wanted a higher vision to remove all of them and have one piece of ERP to support them.
Like that. So they were agreed to use the Oracle General Ledger module,
Yes,
right? Right.
yes. And so we had four vendors. So each vendor had their general ledger product proposed for. Client opted for Oracle for their obvious reasons.
You had to create multiple custom applications in Oracle apart from the GL
Okay,
module.
I was part of vendor selection process. So
Sure.
implementation is underway, and the in scope was only GL. Other products were not in scope. They were evaluating EPM also for the management reporting.
EPS.
EPM is Oracle Performance Management, Enterprise Performance Management, another module they were evaluating on that. So I think once they start implementing subledgers in due course of the time they might consider. But it all depends. We have to do a feasible and analysis about it before we go further. Recommend on it.
So they decommissioned all the AS400 servers and Sun systems, and did they move to SaaS or a cloud,
Yes,
or
yeah,
did they?
they have gone with SaaS
Mm,
offering of Oracle.
was very cost effective, right, Tara? I mean, moving
No,
towards.
to be very honest, we were not part of pricing. That was very
Mhm,
confidential and within their C class, C suite, I would
mhm,
say. So we were not part of pricing. We were
mhm.
only restricted as far as wherever the expertise of SMEs or subject matter experts were required as part of architect.
So it was a combination of software architects and the data center architects.
It was
That
we had
team.
a committee of six people. We had BCG, we had
Mhm,
controllership who was sponsoring it. We had solution architect, we had enterprise architect, we had business involved, and we also had the IT team involved who are maintaining their present system. So it was a well balanced team decision. Have I answered you, Mohammed?
yes, I'm understanding, and this is very interesting. But then few things I'm able to understand, and some of the things
No, you
I
can
could.
definitely drop. You
Yes,
can definitely ask or drop. We can have a conversation around that.
yes, yes. Thank you so much. Yes.
Welcome. Anybody else has any other clarification? Okay. Okay, Mahendra, I'm good. And I think I'm well on time.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. Thank you so much. It was really informative, actually. Because this is some kind of a topic which everyone, I mean, as an architects, which we grow, right? Especially for the solution architect or the enterprise architect, they should understand what exactly this going to be. Okay, this is going to be. This was a really interesting topic, actually, and thanks for your time for presenting this one on CSI. Okay,
Sure. Thank you,
yeah,
Mahendra. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
thank
day.
you. Have a good day. Bye bye.